No words exist in our language for the horrors humans inflict on foes foolish enough to test them in battle. Nicholas Griffin knew this well from a lifetime mediating galactic conflicts on Earth's behalf. And now, humanity's most seasoned diplomat found himself summoned by the enigmatic Bajorans to a remote space station orbiting a dying star. Nicholas disembarked his ship to unsettling silence. The dimly lit corridors stretched bare before him. Only a lone Bajoran waited in the shadows, scales shimmering iridescent in starlight. Draco, station commander, his voice rasped low. He led Nicholas deeper inside, past ancient symbols etched in corridor walls. A sense of unease charged the recycled air. Nicholas felt Draco's warning before he voiced it. "The secret you will learn," Draco intoned. "We Bajorans guarded for millennia. In the wrong hands it dooms your species, and countless more." He waved an arm before mammoth doors, emblazoned with glyphs that seemed to writhe in flickering light. His palm met a glowing panel. Slowly the vault ground open, bathing them in eerie, pulsing luminance from within. Nicholas inhaled sharply. He knew two civilizations, trillions of souls perched on the knife's edge. The Bajorans never before allowed outsiders such intimate access. For them to summon humanity now, calamity must loom. Steeling himself, Nicholas crossed the threshold, the fate of galaxies resting in his hands. Nicholas entered the cavernous chamber, his footsteps echoing in the eerie silence. The pulsating light revealed a massive holographic display at the center of the room, depicting a star system he had never seen before. Draco approached the display and began to manipulate the controls, zooming in on a single planet orbiting a binary star. "This," Draco said, his voice trembling with a mixture of fear and reverence, "is the homeworld of the Vax'ildan, a species so ancient and powerful that they once ruled the entire galaxy." Nicholas leaned in closer, studying the planet's surface, which appeared to be covered in sprawling crystalline structures that glittered in the light of the binary stars. Draco continued, "The Vax'ildan possessed technology far beyond anything we can imagine, technology that could bend the very fabric of space and time to their will. But they vanished millions of years ago, leaving behind only remnants of their once great civilization." He paused, his eyes fixed on the holographic planet, as if lost in thought. "We Bajorans have been studying the Vax'ildan for generations, trying to unravel the secrets of their technology, and we have made a terrifying discovery." Draco tapped a sequence of commands into the console, and the display shifted, revealing a series of complex schematics and equations that Nicholas could barely comprehend. "The Vax'ildan," Draco whispered, his voice barely audible over the hum of the machinery, "were building a weapon so powerful that it could wipe out entire star systems with a single shot." Nicholas felt a chill run down his spine as he stared at the schematics, trying to make sense of the alien technology. "And you think this weapon still exists?" he asked, his voice hoarse with fear. Draco nodded, his expression grim. "We have found evidence that suggests the weapon was never completed, but if someone were to discover its location and finish what the Vax'ildan started—" He trailed off, letting the implications hang in the air. Nicholas took a deep breath, trying to calm his racing thoughts. "Why are you telling me this?" he asked, his eyes locked on Draco's. "Because," Draco replied, his voice heavy with a sense of impending doom, "we believe that someone already has." Draco led Nicholas through a concealed doorway into a cramped side chamber. The space was dominated by a complex workstation with a Bajoran woman hunched over it, her eyes darting between readouts, flashing across multiple displays. She glanced up as they entered. Draco gestured to her. "This is Kira, our lead scientist." Kira nodded distractedly, then beckoned them over. "You need to hear this." Her voice wavered slightly. "We've intercepted a transmission from a Bajoran faction we long thought extinct." She tapped a command into her console. A garbled recording crackled to life, filling the room with distorted words that chilled Nicholas to the bone. "The time has come," a raspy voice declared, "to claim our rightful place as rulers of the galaxy. With the power of the Vax Ildan weapon, none shall stand in our way, not even the mighty humans. A tense stillness fell as the transmission ended. Nicholas turned to Draco, a sense of dread rising within him. You believe they found the weapon? Draco's expression darkened. We suspect they may have located a Vax Ildan outpost, one potentially housing critical information about the weapon's construction. There's more, Kira interjected, her tone urgent. We've detected a massive energy surge in a distant sector. Its signature matches our projections for a Vax Ildan power source. She brought up a star map, highlighting a seemingly unremarkable system. We believe this is their base of operations. The weapon is likely being assembled there as we speak. An icy realization gripped Nicholas as he studied the map. The magnitude of this threat was staggering. We have to stop them, he said, his voice hardening with resolve. We can't allow such destructive power to fall into the wrong hands. Draco locked eyes with Nicholas, his gaze heavy with grim determination. That's why you're here. We need your skills to infiltrate their headquarters and destroy the weapon before it's completed. His words carried a note of urgency. But time is not on our side. We must act swiftly, or all may be lost. Nicholas gripped the arms of his chair as the cloaked ship navigated the treacherous asteroid field. Fragments of space rock pinged off their hull, each impact setting his nerves further on edge. In the dimness of the cockpit, Draco's scaled hands danced over the controls, with a dexterity that belied the tension in his frame. A mottled grey moon loomed ahead, its barren landscape pocked with craters. As they drew near, a sprawling compound came into view, nestled in one of the larger impact basins. Ships crowded the base's spaceport, small fighters and larger freighters, and dotting the complex were skeletal structures in various stages of assembly. Girders and beams reached skyward like the clawed hands of long-dead beasts. Draco guided their vessel into a concealed crater, a few clicks from the base. The ship settled with a muffled thump and the engines powered down, plunging them into an eerie quiet. In the stillness, the weight of their mission pressed down on Nicholas. The fate of the galaxy, of humanity itself, hung in the balance. They disembarked onto the airless surface, mag boots thudding on the grey regolith. Nicholas, Draco, and a hand-picked team of Bajoran operatives, each one's face etched with grim focus. They picked their way through the rugged terrain, using the moon's many ridges and hollows to screen their approach. In the wan starlight, their shadows stretched long and distorted. As they neared the base's perimeter, they huddled behind an outcropping. Draco motioned to a squat, heavily fortified building at the heart of the compound. Kira consulted her scanner, the device's screen casting her features in a sickly green glow. "That's it," she whispered over the comm. "The power source is in there, but the readings, they're unlike anything I've ever seen." Nicholas and Draco shared a look, an unspoken understanding passing between them. It had to be the Vax Ildan artifact, the key to a weapon that could unmake worlds. Draco signaled, and they split into two groups. Nicholas led his team to the east towards the base's primary power station. They moved in a crouch, darting from shadow to shadow. At the power station's perimeter, they planted a series of charges, each one placed with deliberate care. On Draco's mark, Nicholas detonated the explosives. A chain of blasts lit up the compound, flames billowing into the starry sky. Klaxons blared as the base plunged into darkness. Shouts of confusion filled the comm channels as guards rushed to investigate. Under the cover of chaos, Draco's team slipped into the central structure. They moved swiftly, Kira in the lead, her scanner guiding them through the maze of corridors. They came to a massive blast door, its surface inscribed with glyphs that seemed to writhe in the dim light. Kira cracked the lock and the door ground open. Beyond lay a cavernous chamber, dominated by a pulsing mass of energy. It swirled and eddied, casting the room in a nauseating radiance. Vax Ildan devices ringed the core, thrumming with power and ancient purpose. Draco and his team moved with practiced efficiency, planting charges at critical junctures. Kira calibrated the detonators, her fingers flying over the keypad. A timer blinked to life, the seconds ticking down. They turned to leave, the path ahead already unspooling in their minds. But a figure stepped from the shadows. A tall Bajoran, his face a ruin of scar tissue, flanked by a contingent of armed guards. The Bajoran's lips curled into a sneer. "Ah, you didn't think it would be that easy, did you?" His voice was a razor's edge, cold and cutting. "The Vax'ildan weapon is almost complete, and with its power we will crush anyone who stands in our way, including you." He leveled his rifle at Draco's chest, finger tightening on the trigger. In that suspended moment the very air seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the hammer's fall and the inevitable shattering of the fragile piece. Time slowed to a crawl. Nicholas's breath caught in his throat as he stared down the barrel of the faction leader's rifle. The scarred Bajoran's finger tightened on the trigger, a sneer twisting his lips. Just as the hammer fell, a thunderous boom shook the chamber. The floor heaved beneath their feet, sending the faction leader staggering. His shot went wide, scorching the wall behind Nicholas's head. The energy core pulsed, its light flaring to a blinding intensity. Cracks raced across its surface, glowing with an eerie radiance. The ancient machines surrounding it whined, their pitches rising to a deafening crescendo. "What have you done?" the faction leader screamed, his eyes wide with horror and rage. He lunged for the core, but Draco tackled him, sending them both sprawling. "And we have to go now," Kira shouted over the cacophony. She grabbed Nicholas's arm, dragging him towards the exit. They ran, stumbling as the ground shuddered and heaved. Behind them, the core let out a final agonized shriek. Then, with a blinding flash, it detonated. The shockwave slammed into them, hurling them from their feet. Nicholas hit the ground hard, the breath driven from his lungs. Gasping, he struggled to rise, his ears ringing. Draco hauled him up, shouting something that was lost in the roar of crumbling metal and shattering stone. They staggered onward, dodging falling debris, leaning on each other for support. Somehow they made it to their ship. They practically fell into the airlock, sealing it behind them with shaking hands. Through the viewports, they watched as the base collapsed in on itself, consumed by a maelstrom of light and energy. The ship bucked as the shockwaves hit, alarms blaring, lights flickering. But Draco held them steady, guiding them up and away. As they broke atmosphere, a second sun bloomed on the moon's surface, a cataclysmic explosion that seemed to rend the very fabric of space. The Vax'ildan outpost, and the terrible weapon it housed, was no more. In the sudden stillness that followed, Nicholas slumped in his seat, his heart racing. It was over, they had won. But even as relief washed over him, a chill crept up his spine. For he knew with a certainty that settled in his bones that this was not the end. It was only the beginning. Out there, in the vast reaches of the galaxy, ancient horrors still lurked. Horrors that made the Vax'ildan weapon seem like a child's toy. And now, with the alliance between the humans and the Bajorans, it fell to them to stand against those horrors, to fight with every fiber of their being, to protect the fragile light of civilization from the encroaching darkness. Nicholas looked to Draco, saw the same grim realization in the Bajoran's eyes. They clasped hands, a silent vow passing between them. Whatever came next, whatever horrors, you have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.